his one of his services at Synagogue for the Performing Arts.
Yes.
And they talked about burial because he would have, before he would have his service on Friday nights, he had at least an hour of just question and answer. I'm a little boy brought up and asked, why doesn't the Torah talk about dinosaurs and stuff like that, But he would take all questions. And the topic of cremation came up. And he asked people, how many of you, if cremation was an option, you would opt for cremation? I was surprised how many people raised their hand. I would, and I'd rather be laid to rest. But when I was in the Army, I had this really ignorant sergeant, really ignorant, totally ignorant, rude and crude and all that, who thought everybody should be cremated. We're running out of space in this world. We shouldn't be burying people. And I was a young kid then, and I said, cremation violates a lot of people's religious beliefs. The person doesn't know about any of this stuff. He doesn't know about any of this stuff, But okay, so nobody comes up with creation.
So what did the sergeant say when you told him about it?
The person didn't know any of this stuff, and I explained it violates a lot of people, a lot of religions. You don't tamper with dead bodies. You don't mess with them. You let them be. This was an incredibly ignorant sergeant, really.
Very nice.
Rude and crude. Now, here's what they've done surveys in the Catholic Church, which always preaches there's an afterlife and your goal should be to get to heaven. But they told Catholics, and many of them, in spite of the teaching of the church, many of them say secretly they don't really believe that there is a heaven. They seriously have doubts about it. Judaism doesn't.
That's why they call it faith.
That's why they say take it on faith. But many have. No, but I heard this even as a kid. I had a Catholic neighbor who was Italian. I was from the rural part of the country. And she said, yeah, the priests all tell us there's a heaven, but I don't think there is. She had serious doubts about it, and she was a Catholic. We don't worry about the afterlife that much, whatever it is.
At least I don't.
I mean, our goal isn't necessarily to get to heaven. Our goal is to try to repair the world. It's not to get to heaven. We don't know if there's a heaven, and I've heard this from Catholics.
My wife. It's been working for 3,000 years. That's the thing. It's been working.
Thomas Edwards, April 20, 2019, started on this, and now I'm got Thomas Edwards.
Oh.
Is that a class here?
No.
So,
Private.
I've been studying and stuff like that. I've been taking temporary Hebrew and biblical Hebrew and Latin stuff. I just don't like doing homework anymore. I just don't like doing homework anymore. I'm tired of homework. And I have to finish this book by tomorrow at 2 o'clock because that's when this book club, the Jewish book club at Loyola Marymount, believe it or not, they have a Jewish book club. Very well attended, by the way. I got to finish this book by 2 o'clock tomorrow. So, it's Once We Were Home by Jennifer Rossner. They're going to have it. Jennifer Rossner.
I will too, but I think especially today, well.
And we meet at Loyola, and I have to finish this book. I haven't been able to get to it. And then I have to go to the food maker on Saturday morning. I don't have it down pat yet. I don't have it down pat.
You still go to the VA, the driver's service?
Yeah, but I'm at the VA. I'm part of the sheriff, but I'm at the VA. I'll be able to do it 4 times this week. I'm at the VA a lot.
What have you been doing there?
I've been part of the sheriff program.
Part of the what?
Gerald Fit program.
Gerald Fit?
Yeah,
Not just
Gerald
know
Fit.
that, will you?
Gerald Fit. Well, there's a lot of gerontologists plus graduate
Oh,
students.
Gerald Fit, okay.
Plus graduate students from UCLA. UCLA is right next to it. You know, they volunteer their time, and I'm always there. You know, Monday they you don't notice about the VA, but you can get free produce at the VA every single Wednesday at noon between building 500 and building 304. People line up for trucks to come and bring them free produce. And Mondays, if you go to the golf course, you can get free produce. Around noonish, between 11 and 1, you get Foxville free produce. Yes. And they don't ask questions, and you want to, they don't ask for your ID or your them questions. You can actually get free produce. Yes. They give you back the onions, back the potatoes, you know, lettuce, celery.
Thanks to you. No, it's astonishing how much food we have in America. I mean, we live in super abundance
People
here
come
in
to
America.
the VA.
Super abundance.
People come to the VA. They line, see the long line every single Wednesday. Big trucks come in. They got eggs too. And they, like, let's say you get a bag of onions with they give you a paper bag, and you look in your paper bag, oh, there's onions, there's cabbage, there's some, but let's say you can't eat onions, let's say you're allergic to onions or something. Hey, there's somebody else that wants that bag of onions, so, you know, don't worry about it, somebody else use it. So that, so, this goes on at the VA, this goes on at the VA.
Hey, Joey.
Bob.
Hey, Paige.
Jay,
Good to see you guys.
good to see you.
You too.
Marshall, you are,
Yeah, over there.
Marshall, are you the laner today?
Yeah, I'm the leader.
If we make.
Actually, but I have to leave early today, unfortunately.
Okay,
So I'll read
that's fine.
and hopefully you'll have a minute.
Yeah, we'll give it a few minutes. Doesn't look like we have anyone on Zoom right now, but we will. I don't know what that other camera is. Yeah.
Oh, Gary. Gary. Number 9.
Not quite.
What a wonderful minion this morning, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really beautiful.
I was at the we were at the library minion.
Well, you were there. I thought I was see it. I was at home. Okay, number 10's here. We're good.
What were you doing at home?
There we
I'm
go.
all over. Oh, you
There's our menu.
Number 10.
Where were you?
All right.
You get the prize.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
One good thing.
We have our minion, so we're going to get started. Mincha for Shabbat can be found on page 214. Ashrei Yoshe Veitecha, Od Yalu Chasela, Ashrei Shekach Lo, Ashrei Shadnai Eloha, Dilale Ravi. Tehillat Adonai Yedaber Pi, V'varech Kol Basar Shem Kodesh Olam Ba'ed, V'anachnu Nevarech Ya, Me'atav Yad Olam Hallelujah, U'valetzion Goel, Shrei Pesha B'Yakov Ne'um Adonai. ואתה קדוש יושב תהילות ישראל, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש קדוש קדוש, אדוני צבאות מלוך הארץ כבודו. ותישאני רוח, ואשמע אחרי כל רעש גדול, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ויבדחו בך יודע שמך, כי לא עזבת דורשך אדוני, אדוני חפץ למען צדקו, יגדיל תורה ויאדיר. יגדל ויקדש שמי רבה, ועמד דברה קראתי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ובימיכם. חיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב, אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ומעולמיה, יפרח ישתבח, יפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, יתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל, שמי לקודשה בריחו, ועילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בימה ואמרו אמן. ואני תפילתי לך, אדוני עת רצון, אלוהים ברוך חסדך, ענני באמת אישך. ויהי בנשוא אהרון, ויאמר משה, קום אדוני ויפוצו אויביך, וינוסו משנאיך מפניך, כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים, ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. ידעו לאדוני איתי, ונרומם השמו יחדיו. Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Give it a second though, because it looks like we lost our delays. Before we get rolling here, we have 3 aliyot to give out, Hagba and Glila. Any volunteers for any of the above? Would you do an aliyah?
I'll do an aliyah too.
3rd aliyah? Yeah. Okay, and then Hagba? Might end up doing Hagba. I'll do Hagba. And Glila, someone to wrap the Torah.
Wrap it. I'll wrap it.
Great. So ותגלה ותרא מלכותו עלינו בזמן קרוב ויחון פליטתנו פליטת עמו בית ישראל לכנו חסד רחמים ורצון ונאמר אמן. הכל הבו גודל אלוהינו תנו כבוד לתורה יעמוד. What's your name? Gershom ben Moshe Aliyah Rishona Baruch Shenatan Torah Mo Yisrael Bikdushato.
Baruch Adonai Habarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher baruch harbanu mikol ha'amim v'natanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Vayisei Yaakov mi Beersheva vayelech harana vayivka b'makom vayalen sham kivo hashemesh vayikach mi'avnei hamakom vayasem mira'ashotav vayishka b'makom hahu vayachalom hine sulam mutzav artzav rosho magia hashamayma hine malachei Elohim olim v'yordim boho.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei l'olam v'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Ya'amod. You'll be there. You'll be next. Yosef, Yaakov, then Michael, the Rachel Malka, Aliyah Sheni.
Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. V'hine Adonai nitzav alav vayomer ani Adonai Elohei Avraham avicha Elohei Yitzchak haaretz asher ata shochev aleha lecha etnena ulzarecha v'haya zaracha ka'afar haaretz ufaratzta yama v'kedim v'tzafon v'negba v'nivruchu v'cha kol mishpachot adama uzarecha V'hine anochi mach ushmarticha v'kol asher telech hashivoticha el adama hazot ki lo ezovecha ad asher im asiti et asher dibarti lach vayikatz Yaakov mishnato vayomer achen yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh v'anochi lo yadati Vayira vayomar manorah hamakom hazeh ein zeh ki im beit Elohim k'zeh shar hashamayim.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Shoshana bet Moshe Aliyah Shlishi.
Baruch et Adonai Habarach.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Vayashkem Yaakov b'boker vayikach et ha'even asher sam mira'ashotav vayasem ota matzeva vayitzok shemen al rasha vayikra et shem hamakom hahu beit el v'ulam lu shem ha'ir rishona vayidar Yaakov neder lemor im yeh Elohim imadi ushmarani baderech hazeh asher anochi holech v'natan li lechem lechol uveged lilbosh v'shati v'shalom al beit avi v'haya Adonai li Elohim באבן הזאת. אשר שמתי מצבה יהיה בית אלוהים, וכל אשר תיתן לי אסר אסרנו לך.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher natan lanu Torah temet v'haye olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Meshachar to you.
We're going to pause for a couple of Misha Beirachs for the state of Israel, for the IDF, and for those who are being held captive. The prayer for the state of Israel can be found on page 178. Avinu Shabashamayim, Sur Yisrael V'Goalo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reishit Shmichat Geulatenu, Hagen Aleha Be'evrat Chasdecha, Ufros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Orcha V'Amicha L'Rashad, Sabrea V'Yotzea, V'Taknein Be'etza Tova Milfanecha, Chazek et Yedei Migne Eretz Kochenu, V'Anchilem Eloheinu Yeshua, V'Ateret Nitzachon Teatran, Tata Shalom Ba'aretz V'Simchat Olam B'Yoshveha V'Nomar Amen. The prayer for the IDF. Misha Beirach Avatenu Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel V'Leah Hu Yavarech et Chayalei Tzva Hagana LeYisrael V'Anshei Kochot HaBitachon Hamdim Al Mishmar Artenu V'Arei Eloheinu Migvul HaLevanon V'Ad Mibar Mitzrayim Min Hayam Hagadol Ad Lavo Ha'araba U'Bekol Makom Shehem B'Yabasha Ba'Avir U'Vayam Yiten Adonai et Oivenu Hakamim Aleinu Nigafim Lifnehem Hakadosh Baruch Hu Yishmor V'Yatzil et Chayalenu Mikol Tzara V'Tuka Mikol Nega U'Machala Yishlach Bracha V'Hatzlecha B'Kol Ma'aseh Yedehem Yadber Sonenu Tachtehem V'Yetrem B'Cheter Yeshua V'Uva Ateret Nitzachon V'Kumu B'Hem HaKatuv Ki Adonai Elohechem HaHolech Imachem Lahilachem Lachem Im oivechem lahushia etchem v'nomar amen. And the prayer for those who are being held in captivity, this being the 50th day, I believe, of captivity. Misha Beirach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel V'Leah Hu Yavarech V'Yishmor V'Yinsor et Nedrei Tzva Hagana LeYisrael Hu Shvuyav et Kol Achenu Hanetunim B'Tzara Ve'et Kol Achenu Hanetunim B'Tzara U'V'Shivya Ba'avur Shekol Hal Hakadosh Hazem Yitpalel Ba'avuram. Hakadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachamim Alehem Yotziem Mechoshek V'Tzamavet Umosrotehem Inatek Umitzukotehem Yoshiem V'Yashivem Mehera Lechek Mishpachotehem. Yodu Ladonai Chasdo V'Niflotav Livnei Adam V'Kuyam Behem Mikra Shekatuv Ufidudei Adonai Yeshuvun Uva'u Tzion Berina V'Simchat Olam Al Rosham Sason V'Simcha Yasigu V'Nasu Yagon V'Anacha V'Nomar Amen. Please rise for the lifting and wrapping of the Sefer Torah. Yamdu Amagbiya V'Ha Kolalet the Sefer Torah. Someone pull up.
Name or Chazachava. Okay.
No, I'm going to say that.
Tighten it up top. Put this on. Nice and tight. Like you can't make it. Are you making it tighter? Perfect. Okay. This goes on like this. That's it.
There we go.
Good. Right there. The yard goes on this side right here.
The yard goes in. Okay.
On this side right here.
Okay.
Right. Good. Okay, good.
The returning of the Sefer Torah to the Ark can be found on page 220.
Any O'Malley's?
Oh yeah. Anyone who wants to say Amalek for left one? Or anyone on Zoom? Okay. Then we'll continue on page 220. Yeah, 221. Alu Hashem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado, hodo al eretz hashamayim, vayarm keren le'amo, tihila l'chol chasidav, livnei Torah am karovo hallelujah. Hilachachto natati lachem, torati al ta'azovu, eitz chaim chila machazikim ba, v'tomchechem me'ushar, derachecha darcheno, am v'chol netivoteh shalom, hashivenu Adonai elecha, v'nashuva, chadesh yameinu keke. We're going to remain standing for Chatzi Kaddish on page 222, which will be followed by a Hechi Kedusha of the Mincha Amidah. I'll begin on page 223 through page 224, then ask that everyone join in on page 225. When we're done with that, you should head back to page 223 to say your own personal Amidah. But we begin on page 222. Yikada vikada shemei rabba ve'amad yivrak yirtei ve'amlich malchutei v'chayechon u'v'yamechon u'chayei decho beit Yisrael v'agalav izman kariv imru amen yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'olam ome'omai Yiparach v'ishtabach v'pa'ar v'trama v'itnaseh v'tadar v'taleh v'talal shmei dekudasha b'richu le'ila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran be'amavimru, amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Vanara Eloyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'konei Hakol V'zocher Chastei Avot Umevi Goel Livnei Vneihem Lem'an Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer Foked U'Moshia U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham ufoked Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayim eitim atarav le'oshia, Mashiv haruach u'merid hagashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayim eitim b'rachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofech olim ma'atir asurim, Mekayem emunato lishenei afar, Mi chamocha bal gibrot u'mido melach, Melech mimitum chayei matzmiach Yeshua, Ben eman atal hachayot metim. Baruch atah Adonai mechayei hametim.
Amen. Kadesh Shikha Ba'olam, Kishem Shemasi Shimoto, Kishmei Marum, Zev Yamar.
Nekadesh Shimcha ba'olam kishem shmakti shimo tobish mimarom kakatu vayad neviacha v'karet ze el zev yamar.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Haaretz Kevodo.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Melech haaretz kevodo, le'umatam baruch yomeru.
Baruch Kevod Adonai Mimkomo.
Baruch kevod Adonai mimkomo, udivrei kodshecha katuv lemor.
Yimloch Adonai Le'olam, Hayitzion, Torvador, Hallelujah.
Yimloch Adonai l'olam, el ha'ich Sion, ledor vador, hallelujah. Ledor vador nagid godlecha, u'netzach netzachim kedushatcha nakdish, v'shimchacha Elohein. מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. If you're still saying your own personal Amidah, please continue. Otherwise, join us on the top of page 230. צדקתך צדק לעולם, ותורתך אמת, וצדקתך אלוהים, עד מרום אשר עשית גדולות אלוהים מי כמוך, צדקתך כהרי אל, משפטך תהום רבה, אדם ובהמה, תושיע אדוני. יקדל ויקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברך ירתה והמליך מלכותה, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ומעלמיא. יפרח וישתבח ויפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו ואלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה בנחמתה דם ירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. תקבל סלוטון ובאותון דכל ישראל קדם אבהון דבשמיא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום רבה מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל. ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. Kadisha Tell Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 232. Yid Gadal Lid Kadash Shemei Rabbah Ve'alma Divrach Yerote Ve'amlich Malchute Ve'chayechon U'vyomechon U'chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael Ba'agala U'bizman Kariv Imru Amen Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam U'olmei Almaya Yiparach V'yishtabach V'yipa'ar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yit'aleh V'yithalal Shmei Dekudesha B'richu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, ta'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramal, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Shabbat shalom, everyone. There is food over here. Please feel free to take some food. For those of you joining us via Zoom, take a few minutes to grab a snack. I know that 4:30 is a little bit early to be eating dinner. It can be, but grab a snack and we'll start the teaching in a few minutes.
Ben,
Yeah,
nice title for the source sheet.
thank you.
Speaking as someone whose Gregorian birthday this year is on Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Well, as you'll hear, there's plenty of self-serving reasons that I also wanted to talk about Thanksgiving.
Oh, it's not your Gregorian birthday though, is it?
No.
No, got
My
it.
birthday's in June, but happy early birthday.
Why, thank you. Though my Hebrew birthday's not till the following week, but you know.
Yeah. So I'm going to get started here in a minute or two. Just say a couple of things. I intentionally did not pass out the source sheets yet. So those who are watching at home, please don't look through the source sheets yet. Because I want to start with an intro conversation without having the answers in front of you.
Ben,
Yes.
sorry, I'm not giving anything away, but somehow I have my sound highest, but I'm having a little trouble hearing you. Could you go just a little closer? Thank you.
For sure. Is this better?
Yes.
Great. So I'll go ahead like this. So I'm going to start with just an intro conversation. I guess I can throw this one out into the audience. Maybe not throw. So I just want to start with an intro conversation. I'm sure you saw, well, I'm not sure you saw anything because no one reads emails, but for those of you who did read the Shabbat bulletin, my title has all to do with Thanksgiving, and I want to talk about that. In full transparency and honesty, part of it is because I'm talking about the Parsha that we just read 4 times or 3 other times in the next week, and I wanted to teach something different. But also because I think it's notable and interesting to talk about Thanksgiving, especially in the entire environment that we are in right now, both as Jews in America, trying to grapple with what is going on in Israel, trying to grapple with what it means to be Jews in America. I think there's a lot there to talk about. So before we get started, I just want to get a sense of places where people know offhand that we express gratitude as a part of our prayers. What? When you eat, great. So we say we have prayers to show gratitude when we eat, both with all the different brachot that we say before we eat, as well as Birkat Hamazon and Bracha Achrona. There are plenty of different ways of expressing gratitude to God for the fact that we have food in front of us. Other thoughts? In the morning? Modeh Ani, wonderful. So we start out our morning, and this is one of the texts that we'll get into. We start out our morning, the first thing we're supposed to say is words of gratitude. So much so that the first word we say is not Ani Modeh, but Modeh Ani, that the first word is gratitude, and only then we express who's expressing it. Yeah, Joey?
Asher Yatzar for after you go to the restroom.
Asher Yatzar, wonderful. A prayer that we say after going to the restroom, it's also baked into the morning prayers with an understanding, among other things, that we probably before we leave home in the morning, we're going to have to use the restroom as well. But it's a prayer that we're not going to get into it, so I'll just say a little bit more. It's a prayer that expresses gratitude for the fact that our bodies are working and the fact that even one thing not working with our bodies could be wholly detrimental to our ability to survive. Our bodies are very complicated things, and we're expressing gratitude to God that they are working as they should in allowing us to take in nutrients and pass out what we don't need. Other thoughts? Be'ahavta. Yeah, the whole Shema is sort of this loving kindness that we're expressing towards God, and that's coming out of gratitude. Other ideas? It's a pretty big list already. Yeah, Birkot Shachar, the first prayers that we say, at least in this minyan here, are all different prayers expressing gratitude for different things. Judaism is a religion of gratitude, among many other things. And so I want to dive into a couple of those things because one of the fun things that we'll get into is that one of the words that we use for gratitude in Hebrew, hodu, also has another meaning in modern Hebrew, at least, which is turkey. So these two things are just as they are linked together in the American tradition, there's also a nice little Hebrew linkage. And going into Thanksgiving, I think it's important that we ground our gratitude not just as Americans who are grateful for all the different things that we get to experience here in America, but as Jews who can be grateful for all sorts of different things as well. Yeah, I'm going to pass these out, but go ahead.
I don't know if this is very off the subject, but every Thanksgiving, linked with Thanksgiving, President Kennedy was assassinated November 22nd, 1963. So we're heading on 60 years this coming Wednesday, anniversary of President Kennedy's assassination. Now, you've got people who remember the Kennedy assassination. Anybody that lived through it can't forget it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's forever tied with Thanksgiving. It's forever tied with Thanksgiving.
Okay.
For us, it's
Yeah.
we can't. People that remember, absolutely, it's like it happened yesterday to them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Great. So we're going to go through a couple different prayers that are a part of regular liturgy, some that we talked about, some that we didn't, and just kind of dive into them and explore where this gratitude comes from, and many different ways that we can go about expressing it. But the common thread with all of these are a basis of gratitude, that we get to live life, really. So the first prayer, like I mentioned, is the prayer that we say every morning as we wake up. Moda ani lefanecha melchai v'kayam shechazarta bi nishmati b'chemla rabba emunatecha. I give thanks to you, living and everlasting sovereign, for you have restored my soul with mercy. Great is your faithfulness. So what understanding of gratitude do you get from this? Where is this gratitude coming from? That you woke up. That you get to see another day. Yeah, it's very easy when one's life is plenty of mornings waking up to take that for granted. And the first thing that our tradition tells us to do when we wake up every morning is not take it for granted. Because as we were talking about earlier today in the Lunch and Learn, there will be a day at some point for all of us where that isn't the case. God willing, it will be far into the future for all of us. But we're very aware of the fact that we don't get to live forever. And so taking a moment to start our days off in gratitude that, hey, we get another day, is huge. There's an understanding that's built within this, Shehechazarta binishmati, that our soul is being returned to us every day. There's an understanding in Judaism that our soul is given to God every night when we go to bed, and then it's returned to us in the morning. That there are some texts that talk about, I forget what the exact fraction is, but that sleep is like 1/30th or 1/60th a death. And that's because our soul is leaving us when we go to bed. And when we wake up, it's being returned to us. So there's a real sense of we've survived that. It's a real ordeal that we've survived. So this is just like starting out the day. The next text that I want to dive into, Psalm 136. This is one of the ones that we sing a lot here. It's a part of the Shabbat morning liturgy. We sing it as a part of the additions to Birkot HaShachar in the morning, right before, it's a couple of psalms before we say Ashrei. And it starts out with this idea of Hodu Adonai ki tov ki lo chasto, praise God, for he is good, God's steadfast love is eternal. And this idea of ki le'olam chasto, God's steadfast love is eternal, repeats time and time and time again after each thing that we thank God for. Praise the God of gods, God's steadfast love is eternal. Praise the Lord of lords, God's steadfast love is eternal. And then it goes into all these different things that God does for us, who alone works great marvels, who made the heavens with wisdom, who spread the earth over the water, who made the great lights, the sun to dominate the day, the moon and the stars to dominate the night, who struck Egypt through their firstborn, and brought Israel out of their midst with a strong hand and outstretched arm, who split apart the Sea of Reeds and made Israel pass through it, who hurled Pharaoh and his army into the Sea of Reeds, who led his people through the wilderness, who struck down great kings and slew mighty kings, Sichon, king of the Amorites, Og, king of Bashan, and gave their land as a heritage to God's servant Israel, who took note of us in our degradation and rescued us from our enemies, who gives food to all flesh. Praise the God of heaven, God's steadfast love is eternal. And between each line that I said, we normally say Kilam Chasto, God's steadfast love is eternal, but for the sake of time, I didn't say it as we were reading through this. What do we get out of this understanding of gratitude? It's a slightly different one. Thoughts?
I guess God lives forever.
So there's a sense that God is eternal,
Right.
and as a result of that, God's ability to be a source of gratitude for us is eternal as well.
Right.
That there are plenty of people in our life who we're grateful for, and they may come in and out of our lives, but
Right.
God has the ability to be there for us as a recipient of our gratitude forever. Yeah, great. Other thoughts? God, yeah, God's watching out for us. There's all these different things that God is doing for us. It's a gratitude that comes out of an understanding that it's not just gratitude for God's existence, but a gratitude of thanks. Thank you for all these different things you've done for us. And as a result, we're going to express this gratitude for each and every individual thing. Yeah.
God is also there for healing.
Yeah, there's a sense that God is going to right the wrongs in the world. If we look through this, we start with creation and we make it all the way to redemption, to the Jewish people making it into the land of Israel. And that's coming out of a sense of slowly righting the wrongs, right? That it's not that we were slaves in Egypt and it's not like the next day we were free in the land of Israel, but that to paraphrase a quote from Martin Luther King Jr., that the arc of history bends towards justice, and that justice is coming from God and from God's acts. Yeah, to repeat the quote, I'm paraphrasing it because I don't remember it exactly, but that the arc of history bends towards justice. And what's going on here is that the text is saying, yes, that's true, and also it's because of God's intervening in the world. Other thoughts on what might be similar between this gratitude and the gratitude we saw in Modat Ani? Yeah. So yeah. So immediately after Modani, we also, not immediately after, but fairly quickly after we say it, we start listing gratitude for all different things. That the rooster can wake us up in the morning, that God has the ability to give sight to the blind, that we're clothed, that we're free, that we found strength in the morning to actually get up. All these different things are expressed in those prayers after Moda Ani, which are linked through the Siddur at least. And this is also a very sequential list of things. Great. So I want to take a little bit of a turn with the text that we're going to look at next. It's from Brachot, but it's related again to something that we're going to see in liturgy. So Rav Yehuda said that Rob said, "Four must offer thanks to God with a thanks offering and a special blessing. They are seafarers, those who walk in the desert, and one who was ill and recovered, and one who was incarcerated in prison and went out." And all of these appear in the verse of a psalm, which I didn't include here, but I promise you it's a proper proof text. This idea that, so why would it be that these people in particular would have to offer thanks to God with a special blessing? Yeah, they're heavily at risk. Yeah, they have not had, they have put their hands into God to a certain extent. And as a result of it, they're supposed to show gratitude that God pulled them out of these risky situations and let them continue on living. So these lists have been updated into the modern day. Certainly all of these people would be included, but I know of people saying that if you, I know in some communities, they will say every time you go on a flight, you should be saying this prayer, which we're going to see in a second is Birkat Hagomel, which frankly, I would love to hear more often. Not because people, not because I want there to be more opportunities for people to say it, chas v'shalom, but because we are so often in situations where this is the case, and we don't necessarily express our gratitude afterwards that we made it out of those situations. So, yeah. So it's very common for people to say Birkat HaGomel in particular when they go, when they make a trip to Israel, when they come back to say Birkat HaGomel. But there are some who will say it after every flight they take, saying that being a prayer, being a on a plane is akin to being a seafarer. The reason that we see it most commonly said in our congregation is because of someone who was ill and recovered. And this relates to all sorts of illness as well. So it can be like life-threatening illness, but another one that's very common is after childbirth. It's considered commonplace for a woman to say Birkat Hagomel after the fact, because even though thankfully today it is not nearly as risky as it once was, it's still a risky thing. It's still that we still see people experience all sorts of complications from it. And so as a result of that risk that is inherent within it, even though modern medicine has pulled some of that out of it, it gives us pause. And so as a result, we're able to use that as an opportunity for people to say it.
Seafarers and walking in the desert, one of the risks is navigation skills are necessary, or you're going to get hopelessly lost and
Yeah.
you never know where you're coming. But a lot of us have been in serious, like car accidents. We've been in serious accidents, or some other accident. We could have gotten killed, or we could have been crippled for life, or something like that. And miraculously, we walked away from it. We weren't killed. We weren't crippled. So in those days, they didn't have cars.
Right. So they didn't have cars back then, but that would also be, so what was shared is what about car accidents? And that would also be to a certain extent going into this category of one who is ill, because there's the opportunity for mortal injury in a car accident. And even if that isn't the case, I know that's one of the other examples where I see it very commonplace in congregations for one who's been in a car accident to say Birkat Hagomel as a result. So on the next page, I've included it. This is what it has at the beginning is basically this is out of a Siddur, but what it has at the beginning is there just to show you that there are some Siddurim that include it. The important thing that I wanted to add here, right before the blessing in the bold, it says it is proper not to delay the recital of the blessing for more than 3 days. So we have a little bit of wiggle room, but there's an idea that in expressing this gratitude, it's not right for us to delay the expression of gratitude, that we've been saved, and if we go about it willy-nilly waiting 3 days, more than 3 days, a bunch of different things could happen. Anyone think of some reasons why it would be worthwhile for us to not delay saying this? What? Yeah, why would it be important to not delay saying Birkat HaGomel?
Well, first of all, if you go on a trip of some kind, if you go on a journey, if you haven't, you know, you want to return safely, you want to get there safely, you want to return safely. So you wait until the person is returned.
Right, yeah, so you wait until someone's returned from the trip, but why would it be important once you get back from that trip or once you've found dry land again after seafaring or after you've actually survived, which can be a little bit of a gray area? Why would it be important? Yeah, Gary. We have a tendency to forget. Yeah. If
Ben?
we wait around forever, it may never happen and we may forget about that gratitude, right? I
Ben?
know I've been in a car accident before and I know I was really shaken up afterwards. And slowly years have gone by and I'm not as shaken up. And I unfortunately have to say that I'm not, for plenty of different reasons, I'm probably not as grateful today for the fact that I survived that car accident than I was the day that I actually survived it. And that's just a reality of life. Yeah, Taibo?
I wanted to say, at least in my experience as someone who's had to say it all too often, and also family members, part of what ritual can do is help with the transition. So in the case, it was actually a family member who needed to be home a long time after surgery and then going back to school. The family member was anxious about the transition. So the Shabbos before he went back to school, he did Gomel, and that was part of helping to mark a transition, that this is over and it's now okay. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not just the being grateful, it's a good ritual will help you move through that liminal moment to a new thing. So that's what Gomel can do too.
Yeah, absolutely. A sense of reframing a mindset of saying, this was the place I was in. I was in a risky place, and I'm no longer in that risky place. There's gratitude inherent in the prayer and in what it says, but it does also help with that transition. There's a lot of mental energy that needs to be expended to be able to go from one thought process to another.
But I think that every single day, since most of us drive and most of us occasionally fly, and
Yeah.
you know, I mean, every single day there's a certain amount of risk, potential for risk.
Yeah, there is a potential for risk every day, but what our tradition says is, to a certain extent, there's an inherent risk every day we live, right? As going back to what we said with Modeh Ani, we know one day we won't be able to wake up and say Modeh Ani. And so there's certain prayers that we say as expressing our gratitude, and just generally for the fact that we get to live. But then there are specific prayers that we should say when we've lived through experiences that are a lot less common to live through. That's really what this prayer is getting at. So I want to dive into it so that we can discuss it for a few minutes so that we can end Shabbat on time, assuming Mashiach does not come in the next 20-something minutes. So the prayer here is, it's in the bold. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, King of the universe, who bestows goodness upon the guilty, who has bestowed every goodness upon me. And then the congregation responds to that. The one who has bestowed goodness upon you, may that one bestow every goodness upon you forever. So what's the prayer's understanding of gratitude in this case then?
You should always be grateful.
That you should always be grateful. Yeah.
Always be grateful about your health.
Yeah, that the fact that we've survived this thing shouldn't stay with us in the past. A sense that we have continued on, and that gratitude should stay with us forever. Yeah. Other thoughts? Upon the guilty. Interesting. So It's one translation, by the way, that I decided to go with because I wanted someone to ask that question. So the Hebrew word is chayavim. It's the one who is obliged in something. And one of the ways that the tradition can use this is in understanding that you may have, it gets into this idea of God intervened in this moment to a certain extent. That whatever was about to happen in terms of you not making it, somehow God intervened and now you made it as a result. So it's not necessarily guilty as in like you did something wrong, but as in you were on track for this bad thing to happen to you, and for whatever reason that didn't happen.
You know, I've gone on lots of trips, and you go on a trip, and you don't know what to expect. You don't know, you don't know what to expect. You can't, but sometimes things work out. Sometimes your expectations are way exceeded. You come back and it was better than you thought it would be, and um, it's incredible, and you can't take for granted that things are going to work out because it's very sad when I read that someone went to, let's say, Yosemite and they get killed in Yosemite, they slip and fall. I get very saddened when people are on vacation and they should be having a good time, but it ends in tragedy. And if that happens, people go on road trips and it doesn't end well for them,
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
like,
But I
going
want
on a
to
trip
I want to
and it exceeded my
refocus. Yeah,
expectations.
I want to refocus though. Where does this gratitude come out of in this prayer? Or like let me refocus in a different direction actually. Why is there congregational involvement in this? We have all these different prayers which we can say in a congregation, right? But most of us are not waking up surrounded by a minion's worth of people, and yet we say Moda Ani. All these different prayers that we've gone through thus far, we don't need a minion for. But this one thing we're supposed to say with other people. Not only that, we normally say it as a part of Torah service. So what's so important about saying this in community? Yeah.
We're all in this together, and that
Yeah. Yeah, there's a sense of gratitude from the community that we still have this community member with us. Were you going to share? Oh, oh, okay.
I was going to say we can't necessarily take the people in our lives for granted either. That
Yeah,
it's something else we have to show gratitude for. That there are other people in our lives.
yeah, gratitude for the other people in our lives as well. After someone has been through a scary incident like this, to hear to not just be able to express gratitude to God that they made it through the incident, but to see their community expressing gratitude to God that they've made it through that incident as well, as a way of the community saying, we're grateful for you as well, right? It's not just gratitude for God, it's gratitude that this person is still in our community. And that in those moments that are potentially near death experiences, being able to not feel lonely in that moment is huge. To not have to sit in that moment by yourself can be really helpful in terms of, like Taiba was talking about, transitioning through the moment into whatever comes next, whatever life is ahead, because the scary situation is no more. So it can be recited at any Torah service. Yeah. So it's not something. Ideally, in a situation, the community will know and will automatically give an aliyah to that person so that they can come up to the Torah and say it. But if the community doesn't know for whatever reason, then proactively requesting and saying, hey, before Torah service ever starts, whoever the gabbai is who's overseeing giving out aliyot, saying, hey, I want to say gomel, allows the service to know, whoever's running the service to know, hey, this person wants to say Gomel, we should set aside that ability and make sure that we don't run past Torah service without giving them the experience. Great question. So as we turn into this Thanksgiving, there's a lot of different ways we could have talked about Thanksgiving in Judaism. There's all sorts of different texts about rabbis discussing whether or not it's okay to celebrate. Short answer is yes. But I wanted to talk about gratitude because it's so ingrained in our tradition, and because this link between gratitude and Judaism and gratitude and Thanksgiving is something that we really need to hold with us right now at this time where there's so much that we aren't able to be quite as grateful for. Being able to take a moment and say, there are these things in our lives that we're grateful for, all these little moments that we woke up in the morning and our soul was returned to us, that we as the Jewish people still exist. We need to express gratitude for those moments because those moments haven't left us. Even as there is so much that isn't right in the world, there are still these moments of rightness. And it's incumbent upon us to take advantage of all of those moments by expressing gratitude. My prayer for all of us is that we can have many, many more moments of gratitude in the next weeks, months, years to come. With that in mind, is there someone who is willing to lead Birkat Hamazon as I did not eat anything? Joey? Yeah. Great. Can you, what page are we on?
In the newer book, we're on page 47, and these library mini books will be on page 42.
Great.
You're on page 47. Shir ha'malo b'shuv Adonai et shivat Zion hayinu kecholamim az yemale sechok pinu ulshonenu rina az yomeru vagoim Higdil Adonai la soti mele Higdil Adonai la soti manu hayinu semechim Shuva Adonai et Shavitenu Ka'afikim Ba'negev Hazorim Bedima Berina Yiktoru Halach Yelechu Vacho No Se Meshech Hazara Bo Yavo Verina No Se Alumotav Tehilat Adonai Yidaber Pi Vivarech Kol Basar Shim Kodshul Elam Va'ed Va'anachnu Nivarech Yah Me'ata V'ad Olam Hallelujah Hodu Ladonai Ki Tov Ki Le'olam Chasdo Mi Amalel Gevurot Adonai Yashmiya Kol Tehilato Chavirai Nevarech Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach Me'atav V'ad Olam Birshut Chavirai Nevrech Alinu Shechalnu Mishelo Baruch Eloheinu Shechalnu Mishalov Tuvo Chainu Baruchu Baruch Shemo Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Hazan et HaOlam Kulo Betuvo Bechein Bechesed Uvrachamim Hu Notein Lechem Lechol Basar Ki Lilam Chasdo Uvtuvo Hagadol Tamid l'chasar lanu ve'al yachsar lanu ma'azon lilam va'ed ba'avur shemo hagadol ki welzan umfarnes la'kol umetiv la'kol umechin ma'azon l'chol beriotav asher bara baruch atah Adonai hazan et hakol.
After that talk, far be it from me to take away people's opportunity to express gratitude. That said, we as a community are going to, so if you're saying Birkat Hamazon, please continue. As a community, we're going to continue on page 264 with Mariv. I'll give you all a second to turn there while I go grab the other mic. So again, page 264, please rise. Vehurachum yekaper avam velo yashchit vehir bal hashiva po velo yair kol chamato Adonai Hoshia hamelech yanenu v'yom korenu Baruchu et Adonai hamvorach Baruch Adonai hamvorach l'olam va'ed Baruch et Adonai hamvorach l'olam va'ed. You may be seated. Umavir yon umevin laila umavdil ben yom uvein laila Adonai tzvot shemo El chai v'kayam tamid yimoch aleinu l'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim Avat olam beit Yisrael Ve'avatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Adonai Elohim Amen. Umalchuto baratzon kiblu alaihem Moshe Miriam v'nei Yisrael lechatnu shira b'simcha rabba v'amru chulam Mi chamocha b'elim Adonai Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh norati lo tosef ele Malchutecha ra'u v'necha bokeh yam lifnei Moshe ze'eli anu v'amru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai Yaakov u'golo miyad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai ga'al Yisrael Hashki beinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom. Ushmor tzeitzenu v'ainu l'chaim l'shalom yatav yad olam. Baruch atah Adonai shomer amo Yisrael ve'ad. Baruch Adonai l'olam amin v'amin. Ki hamalchut shelcha hi uleom me'ad timloch bechavod ki ein lanu melech ela ata baruch atah Adonai hamelech b'kvodo tamid yimoch aleinu le'olam va'ed ve'al kol ma'asav. Chatzi Kaddish is on the bottom of page 269. Please rise. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה. בעלמא דברה קרותיהם לכמחותי וחייכון ובימיכון ובחייכו בית ישראל בגלה בזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ומעלמיה. יתברך וישבח ויפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקדושה בריחו. ואלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. The silent Amidah begins on page 270, concluding on page 278. If you are still saying your Amidah, please continue. Otherwise, please join us on page 279 for Chatzi Kaddish. Please rise. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה קרותיהם לכמחותי בחייכון ובימיכון ובחייכו בישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ומעלמיה. Yiparach vishtabach vipar vitramam vitnase vitadar vitala vitalal shmei kudasha b'rechu ve'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata b'nechamata ta'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. He noam Adonai Eloheinu aleinu ma'aseh yedenu konana aleinu ma'aseh yedenu konanehu Yoshe v'seter yomet. Yikra'ini ve'enehu imo anochi b'tzara achlatzehu ve'achbatehu orech yamin aspiehu v'arehu b'shuati orech yamin aspiehu v'arehu b'shuati. Put a finger in the page and turn back to page 216, but we'll be coming back to page 280 in a second. Va'ata kadosh yoshev tilo Yisrael v'karazeh al zeh v'amar Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzavot, Melech Haaretz Kevodo. V'tisa'ini ruach lashma achrei kol ra'ash gadol baruch Kevod Adonai mimkomo. Adonai yimloch olam va'ed. V'yivdechu v'cha yodeh shemecha ki lo azavta dorshecha Adonai Adonai chafetz l'man siko yagdil Torah v'yadir. Turn back to page 280 for Kaddish Shalom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah ve'alma divra kirtei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayedecho be'Yisrael b'agala v'zman kariv imru amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mivarach le'olam omei omaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yitalav shmei d'kudashah b'reichu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Tika bal sloton voton dechol Yisrael kadam avahon di mishmaya v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya v'chaim olinu bel kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav hu ya'aseh shalom olinu bel kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Aleinu l'shabeach Adon hakol. V'katuv b'toratecha Adonai yimloch olam va'ed v'ne'amar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol ha'aretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shmo echad. Mourner's Kaddish Kaddish tome can be found on page 282. Eat Gadal v'Eat Kadash Shemei Rabbah Ve'alma Divra Kirutei V'Amliach Malchutei V'Chayechon U'Vyomechon U'Chayedecho Beit Yisrael Ba'gala U'Vizman Kari V'Imru Amen Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam U'Amei Almaya Yitbarach V'Yishtabach V'Yitpa'ar V'Yitramam V'Yitnaseh V'Yitadar V'Yit'aleh V'Yithalal Shmei D'Kudashah B'Rechu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata b'nechemata da'amiran ve'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. And we'll close with Hatikva, which I believe can be found on page 448 at the bottom of the page. Kol ba'leva penima nefesh Yehudi homiya ufate mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia. O lo avda tikvatenu, hatikva bachnot alpayim, liotam chopshi be'artzenu eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim. Liotam chopshi be'artzenu eretz Zion Yerushalayim. All right, we're going to continue with Havdalah. Just give me a second to get all set up. And if someone can hit the lights, that would be greatly appreciated. Ay, 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 Ushamayim besason mimanei Yeshua Adonai Yeshua Alam Chavir Chatecha Sela Adonai Tzevaot Imanu Mizgav lanu Elohei Yaakov Sela Adonai Tzevaot Ashrei Adam Boteach Bach Adonai Hoshia Hamelech Ya'anenu V'yom Koreinu La Yehudim Haita Orah V'simchat v'sason v'ikar kenti elanu kos Yeshuot esa uv'shem Adonai ekra Yai na 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 Yai na 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei v'samim.
Amen.
Nay 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 nay. Nay 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 nay. 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei meorei ha'esh.
Amen.
Baruch Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamavdil ben kodesh lechol ben or lechoshech ben Yisrael le'amin ben yom hashvi l'sheshet yemei hamaseh Baruch atah Adonai hamavdil ben kodesh lechol. Eliyahu, 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 Agiladi, Bimera ve'amenu, Yavo Eleinu, Imashiach ben David, Imashiach ben David. Shavua Tov, everyone. Morning Minyan tomorrow is at 8 o'clock, right here, I believe. And wishing everyone a wonderful week and a wonderful Thanksgiving full of gratitude. Shavua Tov.
Yeah. Shavua Tov.
Hey,
Hi,
hey.
AJ.
Yes, to you too.
Hi.
So you'll see I sent you an email. Does Gary have an identical twin or do you live really close to the shul?
What is
No,
that? What?
Because I thought I saw Gary having like the first
he
Aliyah.
was. He's at shul. Marlise is at home.
Yeah, but I thought I just saw Gary next to you, Marlise. No?
No, that was Benji.
Oh my gosh, he must look like his father then. Either that or I don't see well or both. Oh, got it. Thank you, AJ. Good Shavua Tov to you too, AJ.
And to you.
Yeah.
Hope everybody's doing well.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
We missed you at the march.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so you were there, huh? You're right there. That's true. You're right there.
Well, right there.
AJ?
No, I'm an hour and a half out of town, but yes.
Oh.
AJ, did you go with your Northern Virginia shul that you've been going to, or did you meet up with Betham?
No, I went in early and I met up. Betham went, they met at a hotel at 9 o'clock in the morning. So I got up at 6 a.m. and took the train in and met up with the Betham group because the Herndon group was leaving. They weren't leaving the parking lot of the shul until like 10:30.
Mm.
Oh yeah,
so they were
never going to work.
They were truly at the back. No, they got there and they were, I mean, they knew what they were doing, but they also knew the limit of the, what their group was going to do. And so they were at the back. We were at the front, and I have to do a shout out to Rabbi Rembaum and Freddie, his wife, who he is a rabbi emeritus at Betham. They were there the whole time. They walked over with us and they stood for from we got there around between 10:30 and 11 and left around, started making our way back to out of the pen at about 2:45. Didn't get to their hotel until almost 4 o'clock. So they were on their feet the whole day.
Wow.
And they were incredible. They were incredible.
I knew they were going because he emailed me. He was. Because I've taken, I think now 2 things with him. AJ, I don't remember offhand, or Marlise, who also, maybe once or twice a year he does 6 session things. So I knew he was going.
Yeah. So is he said he was going to be doing a Psalms class, but I didn't know he was doing something else now.
Oh no, he's not doing something else now. I forget. I don't know. Something came up. I emailed him, then he emailed me back saying that he was coming. And he also told me Psalms January and February.
Oh, okay.
Yes. He's doing the Rembaum Institute. It's named after him. And he said he was going to teach a Psalms class. So
Yeah,
looking
actually,
forward to that.
with a Bethon member who couldn't find anyone else, this is now the third time we're doing Zug, Hadar's Zug, and Zug, however one said it, and I let him pick, and we just started now one on Psalms. Shai Held's thing on Psalms. So I thought, oh, this will work out so well. It just remotely, should I make it? To January, February with Rabbi Rembaum. In January and February, AJ, do you know, will you still be in Northern Virginia?
I think I will be. I think I will still be in Herndon. But there is a possibility that that our project will be moved over to we have a prime contractor who is thinking about moving things to another facility. So I may end up being in a different town at that point. I'm not sure. Things are unsettled at this time.
If you're